Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to another home theater hangout. Today we got Andrew from MartinLogan back in the house. What's up, Andrew?
Hey, what's going on, Shane?
Not much, man. I'm excited to hear about these new subwoofers you guys have just announced recently at what was it, Audio Advice?
Yeah, I thought I was going to see you there, but it's all good.
Yeah, I don't like to leave the house sometimes.
Oh, I hear you. I hear you, man. But yeah, it was a great show. So, we did unveil the three new series there. So six new models, and yeah, it was a great show. I like the shows like that where it's open to the public, where everybody can come check
Yeah,
out stuff they may not be able to see all the time. So yeah, we had a great time. We had a blast.
yeah. So just so you guys know, I've been auditioning their statement in-wall speakers. However, they're not in my walls. They're actually in little backer boxes. So be on the lookout for that review. What's the model number on that? The 7000?
Yeah, you've got some of the Masterpiece CI. I think you have the Monuments. Because what size TV do you have
Oh, yeah,
in
the
there?
monuments, yeah.
Yeah,
85.
yeah, the Monuments are about the size of an 85-inch
Yeah.
TV.
Yeah.
So we got those, and I think we sent you the small ones in the back, the Icon,
Yeah.
and I didn't send you in ceiling, right? So I think you just
No.
have the ones on the wall, not in
Yeah.
the wall. Yeah,
Yeah, just on the wall.
yeah,
Yep, yep, yep.
yeah. Those
Yeah.
are sweet.
Yeah, I think the statements were the gigantic ones. I couldn't fit those ones, of course.
Yeah, those are the 40 driver monsters. Yeah.
Yeah.
they're,
So
they're
be on the lookout
huge.
for that speak or for that review. That'll be I'm trying to wrap it up probably next week. But I'm sure any one of these new models of subwoofers will go nicely with those speakers. Would I be correct in that?
Well, I mean, if you did like a $25,000 speaker and a $500 sub, that certainly is a combination. But uh, but yeah, there's quite a variety of choice here. So this is six new models across three new series. So
All right.
like the one you have on your screen is the new entry point into our subwoofers. So
So
whereas before pretty much every sub was called a dynamo,
yeah.
these are now split into series to kind of make them a little more unique. Yeah, okay, so you got the high res images here. So Dynamo Foundation, it's a downfiring sub. So it's got that nice black wrap around it. It does actually match our Motion Foundation speakers that we launched last year. So those were the entry point into our Motion line of product. This is the entry point into our subwoofer line.
Yeah.
So they do match, but I think it's a really stylish looking sub, especially for the price point. So I think you could put that next to pretty much any speaker and it would look good.
Right.
And yeah, two different flavors. You got a 10-inch, you got a 12-inch. Plenty of power. There's a 200 watt RMS, 400 watt peak amp on the 10-inch, and then a 350 watt, 700 watt peak amp on the 12-inch. So, for 499 and 699 respectively, it's a really attractive, powerful, compact sub that I think you could drop into a living room and it would look, normal. I think it'd look good.
So this isn't like flippable, right? Like the old ones you could.
No, and we'll notice that on some of the other models, the flip trick we call it was something that we had from the very first Dynamo in the early 2000s. We've been doing it forever.
Yeah.
But when we were going back to the drawing board to release an all new line of subwoofers, we looked really, really hard at that feature in particular because, on one hand, we've done it forever. And on the other hand, it's like, well, I mean, should we keep doing it? And the trade-off of doing it, I think, was a far more attractive subwoofer. So when we get to like the Dynamo series, which is the one above these, you'll see that we did some really cool stuff with the cabinet that just would not have been possible had we kept that feature. Um,
Right.
and pretty much every sub is front firing. Just it's it works in pretty much every situation. It works well. The reason we did down on the foundation was to really give that kind of that was a weird little tone there.
You got
But it gives it a like really clean kind of grillless look. So for especially for these price points, this might be someone who wants they need a subwoofer. They didn't necessarily like want to go get one, but they have to have one. So why not get one that sounds awesome and looks like really unobtrusive? So this you can kind of drop into a room, and it looks good, it looks clean, and it doesn't draw like a ton of attention to itself that, oh, hey, this thing's a speaker. Like it looks like a little piece of technology sitting there. So
Yeah. So these go down pretty deep. 25 hertz for each one. 24 for the big one.
yeah, they'll dig
Yeah.
down deep. And that's the 3 dB down point. So
Yeah.
so it'll still have some output below there.
Yeah.
It just starts to roll off a little bit, and that's also anechoic. That's not taking into account any kind of room gain or anything like that. So in room performance certainly varies, especially with subwoofers. So that is an anechoic measurement, but they're nice and nice and solid little guys too. Quite beefy for how small they are.
Yeah.
Ton of DSP processing, so really powerful. So we're able to really fine tune the performance of it and get nice clean output. And,
Is that DSP? And is that app based or?
So this is just a like DSP platform built into the amplification. It doesn't have the app control or the room correction features that the more expensive models do.
Got you. All right.
Yeah.
So let's check out the step up here. Where is it?
Yeah. And the Dynamo, sorry, I forgot to mention that Foundation 10 is available now.
Oh, is it at like Best Buy? Like no.
It is shipping for everywhere that carries our stuff. So we do have them in stock.
Nice. But can they go to like Best Buy? Can they hear it at Best Buy now or?
The demos are going out, I want to say sometime in October. So not yet, but soon.
Got you. All right. How much does that one cost? What's the 10 and the 12 on the Foundation?
So $499 for the 10-inch and $699 for the 12-inch.
Yeah, it's not bad. That's a good price.
Yeah, you may remember the Dynamo 600X is like I would say the closest to the Foundation 12. So instead of the app control, we gave you a larger woofer with more power, right? So it's just kind of a trade-off.
Right. Yeah. And then the step up here, we have the Dynamo series.
Yeah, that's where the technology starts here. This thing is packed.
Yeah, these are cool. These are like one of the coolest looking subwoofers I've seen personally.
When we were prototyping this design really stuck out at the very early stage to the point we said, all right, this is okay. Every sub is more or less a square. It's a cube, but this is a really stylish cube. So we latched onto this design and really kind of polished it out to get to where it is right here. I mean, yeah, it's pretty good looking, and I think you could put that next to anything and it would be right at home. But we did two different colors on the small one. So for the first time, you're able to get a satin white option. The other finish, of course, is gloss black, and it follows some of the design cues that we saw on the Motion product that came out last year, where you've got like the trim color around the woofer.
Oh, right.
That kind of thing. You've got, one of the other goals is, we didn't want to see any hardware. There's no grill pins or grill holes or anything like that. Everything's nice and clean. So, if you wanted to leave the grill off or put the grill on, either way, it's going to look really stylish with no hardware sticking out. You can kind of see that MartinLogan emblem or the logo like debossed into the woofer surround. Like it's cool. Yeah. It looks cool.
It's like nickel plated or something. Yeah, I like it. I like that you guys actually put there's XLRs on this, right?
Yeah, so that's new for these price points here for sure.
Yeah.
So from here on up the line, you've got RCA and XLR LFE inputs. Not every processor can use that, but if you have the choice, now you can take advantage of that. And then you have stereo RCA inputs for hi-fi systems, or if you'd like to use pre-outs out of another device. And then we've also, you can kind of see it above the XLR, you've got banana plug inputs for speaker level. So
I see.
You can use all of those or just one.
Yep.
These do support simultaneous playback. So if you've got a high level connection going into it and LFE, it'll play everything.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
That's like
Yeah.
I know Rel's always touting high level input.
Yep. And we've got it. Works
And
awesome.
you got a cool big knob too. Is that illuminated?
Yeah. Yeah, that is. So when you're adjusting the volume, that is a LED illuminated interactive volume knob. So illuminated from the back of it. Um, and yeah, it does look cool, but we highly encourage people to use the app so you can kind of see the QR code to the neck, right to the side of it. That you scan it with your phone, it'll automatically go to the app store and download our control app because
Right.
as cool as the knob is, I can adjust it from my seat, and that's where
Yeah.
all of your advanced settings like the crossover, phase, DSP mode, anything like that, it's all in the app because um, one, it's just far more convenient, but also when you're adjusting that stuff, you really should be listening from your primary listening position and not like,
Yeah.
a foot behind the subwoofer adjusting knobs. You need to be back at your seat. And short of having a helper dial in a subwoofer, this is like by far the most convenient way to do it. Um, all done in real time through the app control.
Yeah, that's cool. So the app control is kind of like volume and stuff like that, but then you have arc input as well. So this has Anthem
Yeah.
arc, right?
Yep, has Anthem Room Correction Genesis support. So basically, you've got your USB-C connector back there. Connect that up to either Mac or PC, and
Mm-hmm.
then if you have an Anthem microphone, which we'll also have a couple different kits available for these, for actually all of our ARC-enabled products, because our top-of-the-line electrostats also have
Yeah.
that feature as well. Yeah, you can use that right there. So yeah, the room correction is awesome. I think you may have some experience with the Anthem processors. It does a great job, and
Mm-hmm.
this is specifically running on the subwoofer itself. So you could actually layer both of those. You could run the correction on the sub and then the processor on top of that. And yeah, lots of power.
Yeah, look at that, huh? These go down to 23 and 22 hertz. Yeah, beefy
Yep.
subs. Usually you think of Dynamo as kind of like entry level, but these look like they're definitely stepping it up this year.
I like to say this is our love letter to the original Dynamo,
Yeah.
which our first subwoofer was we made in 2001. Dynamo came years later, but that's why it was the perfect name. It was a very small, compact, powerful, just good sounding sub.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't the loudest thing in the world, but it made great quality bass in a small size, and that's
Yep.
been Dynamo's legacy ever since. So these are still compact enclosures, but they're very, very heavy. Each one is made out of a 1 inch thick MDF cabinet.
Oh wow, really? 1 inch.
Yeah, and then we
Wow.
put even more bracing on the woofer baffle. Uh, they're heavy. I mean, it's like 42 and 60 something pounds. Like they're very beefy, small subwoofers, which is what it takes to get that kind of output out of a small box. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
power and a really strong woofer, and then the cabinet's got to be strong enough to keep it all together and not shake.
So almost perfect squares.
Almost perfect squares. Yeah,
Yeah.
they've got nice beautiful rounded edges and everything, and
Yeah.
but yeah, they're more or less a cube. And then you may see right above the weight, we have the anti-vibration feet built in. So if you look at the high res images, the subwoofer kind of lays on a plinth. There's an extra plinth on the bottom. So uh, yeah, there's one of those images will show it really well.
Let's see here.
You can kind of see the base sticking out below it, the little pedestal that it sits on, right?
Okay, yeah, just a little
You can kind of see it there.
piece there.
Might be
Okay.
a close up shot in there.
Is there?
Yeah,
Oh,
right
okay.
there.
Yep.
Yeah, so the whole thing rests on a plinth, and then built into that, we actually have anti-vibration feet. So, even if the cabinet's not vibrating a ton, the motion of the woofer creates energy. And Basically, this tries to help decouple that and isolate that from the floor to give you a cleaner sound. And here's you got a picture of it with the optional carpet spikes added in. So, out of the box, it comes without the carpet spikes. So when you put it down, you don't accidentally like damage your floor or stab yourself in the foot or anything.
Right.
But those can be added if you like. And either way, it just helps reduce noise transfer into the room, and inadvertently that also helps keep noise complaints down. So especially if you have adjoining rooms or neighbors, it's not necessarily the actual bass sound that's disturbing them. It's all the things rattling and shaking. So we try to help with that, but also just better sound. Why not, right? So, and it makes it look really, really cool. Just kind of floating off the floor a little bit.
Yeah, it's a super cool looking sub. You know what would have been cool if you had the black with the gold band around it? Because don't your speakers have that too? Right? I think it does, right? I feel like that should have been an option.
When it comes to colors, it's you're never gonna please everybody, but
The white with the gold? The white with the gold would really match that floor.
We played with a whole bunch of different options, but seemed like the white and the silver is the one that kind of went with everything.
A special edition version coming out.
See,
white and gold, white and bronze. Yeah,
that's the subwoofer with the woofer right there, the woofer of the house.
So that's satin white, right? Like a matte white.
Yeah. So it's not completely matte, but it's not a gloss white finish. It's a very modern satin. Yeah. So that it if you've seen our new updated motion line, it's essentially that finish.
Okay, gotcha.
It looks really clean.
Yeah, it's like, man.
But we did that on the 10. The 12 is only in gloss black. So the little guy you can get in the satin white and gloss black.
Yeah, I know. I want to review the Abyss, but then I feel like this would probably look cooler in my living room.
I mean, for the size, the look, and the features too. Like I know that we're all enthusiasts, and we'd want to connect with XLR, but there's a ton of people out there that where you find the best sounding spot in the room is just a royal nightmare to actually get a cable to.
Yeah.
These actually include the wireless kit in the box.
You're giving them away now.
So we've got a lossless transmission, transmitter in there. You just connect up to your device. Running a wire is still the best way to do it, but that's not always an option. So these include it built in. So for $9.99 on the 10-inch, it's a ton of power, plenty of output. It's got really good style, and it's got wireless in like every connection you could ever think of. So, I mean, the thing is just loaded up.
So then in the box, you have like a transmitter that comes.
Yeah, I wish I had a good picture of it. I could probably find one on the spot, but yeah, that's it looks like a little rectangle with 2 RCA inputs. It's powered off of USB-C, so you can actually run it off of a USB-A port on, like, a lot of receivers have just a USB port there. Yeah. So you could actually power it off there, or we also include a brick in the box. So not a brick, a power brick. Like, it's actually a real product, but the power brick we give you as well, just in case, not everything has an available USB port, right? So we give you both. And just connect it up, and you can, if you zoom in on the bottom left there's the little button to enable the wireless card. It's turned off out of the box, but yeah, you basically just enable the wireless, and then boom, you're ready to go. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Look at that, man. Dynamo's stepping it up this year.
Yeah, man. We were really looking forward to bringing something out to pay tribute to our history with subs. We've been doing it since our first powered sub came out in 2001. I mean, we've been doing it a long time. So, we wanted to come out swinging to update.
It's funny, like everybody recently, in the past couple of years now, just been really bringing these really high performance small subs out. It's either like really small, powerful subs, or just gigantic, like huge monsters.
Like, just it's almost like an arms race, and it's like, well, I'm not making a 100-inch subwoofer. That's just not in our it's not going to work for what most people want. But a lot of people need compact subs, or at least they want a compact sub. And we're trying to make that trade-off, because usually the bigger and more powerful the sub, it's going to play louder. It definitely takes a lot more work to get a lot of output out of a small box, but we didn't want you to have a huge performance penalty. It's definitely not going to play like an 18. That's just that's not what we're trying to do here. But what bass we're providing, and it's very ample. It's a very, very clean, very, very low group delay, extremely low DSP latency. I mean, they're just, I hate to use the trope of musical subs, but they're very clean, very low distortion, and they'll beat the block down when you want them to.
Nice, but then you're stepping up or stepping down in size with these little guys. Like these are smaller, right?
Yeah. So in the early 2000s, after we did Dynamo, we were very I wouldn't say surprised, but overwhelmed with how good the feedback was on it. So we were asked to make a larger one, because at the time Dynamo, when it came out, it was only a 10-inch. That's it. So Abyss, when it came out, was basically a more powerful and bigger Dynamo. It had a 12. So we wanted to kind of spin that on its head and change it up. So instead of being a bigger and more powerful version of a Dynamo, Abyss is a smaller and more powerful version of a Dynamo.
Yeah.
And as a personal goal, when we went to redo these subs, I was thinking in my head, okay, we really shouldn't do anything 8 inches anymore. Like, let's go 10-inch or bigger. But when we got to looking at it, we're like, well, really, really small compact subs, you still kind of have to go to an 8. But how can we build an 8 that doesn't sound like one? Yep. And that's where we came up with going to this strategy. So this is what we're calling our hybrid woofer system. It's a front-firing active woofer with dual passive radiators on the side. And effectively what this gives you is the increase in surface area. So it basically is like a ported sub without having to grow the cabinet large enough to accommodate one. Mm-hmm. And you still get that really nice roll off and tight sound that people attribute to a sealed woofer. So you kind of get the benefits of both. It's definitely a more expensive design, and it's challenging to develop with, but we spent the time to do it, and the results are awesome. I mean, the Abyss 8 will really surprise pretty much, especially at the show when we were playing it. It surprised everybody. It digs down super low. Mm-hmm. It'll really outgrunt the comparably priced Dynamo at the low end. That's really where the emphasis is. Hence, the aptly named Abyss part of the name. They dig really, really low and have a lot of power. So, you get the tiny size, but you get a ton of output.
Right.
And the same inputs. I forgot to mention everything Dynamo and Abyss, they have sub out. So you can chain them together. So that way, if your processor doesn't have multiple outputs, you have a little more elegant way than having to use a splitter. We give you an output on the back, so you can chain multiple ones together much, much easier.
How does the room correction function like that? Do you still do it individually, or?
Depends on the room correction software. ARC will accommodate multiple subwoofers. Like an AVM 70 can do dual subs, an AVM 90 can do quad subs, and it will measure them independently so that they sum correctly at the end. And
okay,
some people measure them all together, but that's a whole nother rabbit hole.
Would you use, all right, so if you have an Anthem, would you use the ARC on the sub or in the Anthem?
I would actually say both. If I were doing it, I would run it on the subwoofer first, because that way the subwoofer itself is kind of equalized to more or less the ideal, and then ARC at that point doesn't really need to do much down there anymore afterwards, so it can focus on everything else. That's the way I would do it. I would do that on anybody's room correction system. The idea being that if the sub has corrected itself or at least smoothed out its response, then whatever the room correction software that comes after has less to do, so it can concentrate on other areas of the spectrum. Because there's a, not necessarily an arc, but yeah, like let's say you had a correction system that can only do so many points. Well, if I have to spend less of them on the base, I can spend more of them on everything else. So your results, in theory, would be better. So I would do it on the sub first.
Right. Yeah, I guess that's kind of like what we do. Well, manually, you do it kind of first.
Yeah, because you can also, it's better for tuning that way, because then you can turn it on and off on just the sub. And, and then you can try your room correction system, as a baseline where there's been no EQ applied before. Yep. So, yep, always recommend doing the sub itself first. So, yeah, that's what I would do.
Is the Dynamo available in white and black at the same time, or at a later date?
We've been asked a bunch of that. Typically, what we found is the white subs, that's supposed to be the more small and compact ones. So it is not available on the 12-inch now, but we'll definitely open to listening to that feedback.
Everybody always does that. It's like, hey, we got black and white, but white always takes a little longer.
It's true. Yeah. Black is what has been sold the most by like every brand ever for the history of subs. So it's a little nervous when you start offering different colors. How's it going to be received? So it's good to hear that people are liking that, though.
Yeah. So these are hitting the same frequency as the big ones.
So that's it doesn't tell quite the whole story. I know, shocker. But yeah, the 3 dB down point is the same, but its output within its operating range is not. So as I mentioned earlier, the Abyss models will have more output from roughly the 20 to 30 hertz range than the comparable dynamos, and that's a result of the passive radiators effectively tuning it for enhanced low frequency output. So it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but man, it'll hit those low notes surprisingly hard, especially for how small they are.
And these are got more juice, I see. 1,000 watts peak, 5,000 watts.
It's actually the same amplifier rating between, so like the Abyss 8 and the Dynamo 10, and then the Abyss 10 and Dynamo 12. They do have the same power, but it's what's on the other end of the power. So, a single 10 or single 12 versus a single 8 or single 10 with dual passes backing it up. They have a different frequency response in the room. So no wrong answer. We're just giving choices. So you can think of Abyss as you pay a little bit more to have a little bit more enhanced low frequency output, but also a smaller, slightly smaller enclosure.
Yeah. So,
but like you said, it could also be a style choice. I think Dynamo looks freaking awesome. So just kind of depends on what floats your fancy there. What floats your boat.
So these are like an inch or two smaller in all directions, huh?
Yeah, that doesn't sound like a lot, but when you put them next to each other, you can definitely see and feel the size difference. But it's they're beefy boys. the Abyss 8 is 46 pounds, so it's a really heavy 8-inch woofer, that's for sure.
Yeah, so these are almost the perfect squares. I mean, off by like 0.4.
Yeah, and that dimension doesn't include the like the volume knob, because people are usually just concerned about the cabinet size and shape, not necessarily like how far the cables stick out the back or whatever. So yeah, they are almost perfect cubes, all things considered.
Nice. Yeah, man, these are, I remember I was asking you, hey, how can I hang some subs on my walls for waveforming? I was like, these are small enough, I can put them on my wall.
Yeah, build a shelf. It's they're heavy.
It would be an interesting comparison. They do look a little bit like the, well, not really though. The KC92 has a dual opposing active subs, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, a little bit different.
Yeah, a little different
execution. That's more like what we do on our Balance Force product with the dual opposed, which has different benefits than an active with passives.
Yeah, I would say this is I think Golden Ear has something similar to this one.
Yeah, we're definitely
Yeah.
not, we're making, we're not saying we're the first to do it. It's
Yeah.
just something you don't see that common. Because
Hmm.
like I said, it is harder to design and engineer. It does cost more money to do that. Um, but yeah, we're really, really happy with the results.
Yeah, I can't wait to give him a listen. That's for sure. Are you going to do a tutorial with Arc, please? Are you going to do it?
We are actually working on a an updated version of our subwoofer setup video that'll come at a later time. And we've also talked about how to incorporate taking advantage of Arc with that. But I think that's beyond the scope of our live stream tonight for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And sounds sweet. Motion 6050 owner, large dynamo or 10-inch abyss. Which would be the best match?
Ooh, no wrong answer. I personally, between the Dynamo 12 and 10-inch Abyss, I think I would go 10-inch Abyss. Although personally, I like the look of the Dynamo. I really
Yeah.
like the way that product looks. Um, but I'll say stay tuned. The year's not over, so maybe stay tuned to our our social channels. Maybe there's something else that might be interesting. Would the
Would
Abyss still be suitable? Oh,
well, it passed the radiators, right? I don't think that's not really gonna.
yeah, it doesn't. It wouldn't really
Yeah.
affect anything. Yeah, absolutely. So that's actually what we're going to be demonstrating at CEDIA this year. We're going to bring a 7.4.4 Atmos system, and to showcase our new subwoofers, we'll be running four Abyss 10s, one in each of the corners. And yeah, they work great because that is a concern: is how does the output enter the room differently? You know, in my own system, those subwoofers are right on the side of the cabinet, so having a passive smashing right into it,
Yeah.
acoustically, it's not that big of a deal. But vibration is a concern. So, like, if you had like a turntable nearby, it might impact that a little bit more. But yeah, putting them in the four corners, that's not going to really be any different than a single woofer system. And as always, I would recommend using something like Arc Quick Measure or like Rue or something to measure the room and find where the best spot is, because the corner may not actually be the best measuring spot in the room. As it might be the loudest, it may not be the smoothest measuring. So there's plenty of tools to do that. We also illustrate a technique called the base crawl, which you feel stupid doing, but in absence of if you don't have advanced measurement tools, you can basically put your subwoofer in your listening spot, and then you crawl around at subwoofer level. Because if you're standing up, you're 5 or 6 feet in the air, and your subwoofer is not installed 5 or 6 feet in the air; it's on the floor. So you have to crawl around subwoofer level, and you can just listen to a constant bass note, and you can find like, oh man, that note is super loud over here, and I can't hear it at all over here. And what you're experiencing are the room modes and nulls and everything, and you can basically be your own version of a RTA by doing that. And yeah, corners may not always be the best, but yeah, it would be perfectly fine to do that if those spots are good for the room.
How would somebody play a constant bass note with those subwoofers?
Ah, great point. So on the back of the subwoofer, we have added a tone sweep feature. So what this does is it sweeps from 120 hertz down to 20 and then back up again constantly. And just if you hit the button again, it'll pause it. But the easiest way to use it is actually in the app. So in our app, here I can, maybe if the camera will focus, I can show you on my actual phone here. But we have a tone sweep feature built into the app control itself. So let me make sure I'm not connecting to the subwoofer in the living room and drive my wife insane. Let me put it in demo mode here because I just realized she's watching TV. So if I crank up the sub in the middle of that, then so she's probably watching me right now anyway. So this is in demo mode here. Where's my camera? Right. So it won't really focus, but
You can see it.
I can go here on the sweep. Yeah, it's not really focusing. I can, but I can pause it yeah, it's not focusing for me. But
I could see
if
it.
it
I
were
could see it.
if it would focus, it would show you the
Yeah.
frequency, and you can choose which specific frequency you want. And the intention of it was actually to help you find rattles, because as you're running the tone sweep, you'll hear things in your room buzz and shake, and you can pause it and then go find what it was. Like at the Audio Device Live show in our demo room where we had the Abyss playing, there was a picture frame on the wall that was shaking like really, really loud at a specific frequency. So just paused it, walk over to it and stop it, and then now you can move on. But the secondary benefit of that is you can play a specific frequency you like and use it for setup. But yeah, you could also run a like a pink or brown noise or something like that,
Yeah.
whatever you like. So
Well, you can also do what we did. I did this in a video. We played like a 50 hertz tone, and then we got one of those SPL meters on your phone. So if
yeah,
you have like multiple rows in your theater, you can play the tone and then walk around and see what the different SPL is per location. So it'll
they
help you.
actually work surprisingly well.
Yeah.
Especially on like iOS devices, they have very consistent measuring microphones.
Yep.
And yeah, that's we use that sometimes as well, just to kind of look at especially for like phase aligning and impulse response on subwoofers, things like that. It's actually a very helpful tool if we don't have Arc handy, because I'll use that all the time. Arc has a great quick measure tool that's essentially an RTA. It just runs a full tone sweep, and you can see in real time how it's measuring in the room. So I use that. But if I don't have the laptop handy, then the tools available on mobile devices are actually like really good. So it worked nice.
So prices for the Dynamo. Let's start off with the entry level one here. The Dynamo Foundation 10, $500.
Yep.
The Foundation 12, $700. Good solid price points. Then the pretty looking subs. Yeah, I put in the title, the sexy subs.
Yeah.
The Dynamo 10 is $1,000. Dynamo 12 is $1,500. Still really good prices as well, especially for subs that go down to like 23 hertz. Pretty killer.
And with all the features, like
Yeah.
wireless alone is well over $100. So yeah, there's all kinds of good stuff built into here.
And then we got the Abyss 8, which is $1,200, and then the Abyss 10 is $1,700.
Yep, a little bit more than the comparable size Dynamo.
Yep. Yeah, so pretty good price. And you're going to show that off at Cedia next month?
Yeah, so Cedia's actually in like 2 weeks, believe it or not. So early September. If you have a friend that can get you in,
Yeah.
but yeah, we'll be demoing an electrostatic theater 7.4.4 with 4 of the Abyss 10s running low frequency duty. So yeah, it'll be
Nice.
fun.
Anything else going on there with the showing off?
Well, I mean, so last year we announced what ended up being 3 different lines of speakers over the course of the year, and we didn't do them all at once. We did Motion XT and Motion, and then Foundation came later in the year. And then this year we've done 3 all at once, actually. So we did Dynamo Foundation, Dynamo, and Abyss. And I mean, maybe there's more to come. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe there's more, guys.
I've gotten a lot of questions from fans about the new lineup, and you'll notice the most expensive one of the new line is $1,699. Well, we currently have subwoofers that cost more than that.
Yeah. Maybe a new Neil list.
No, I wouldn't go that far. That thing is, I actually got to hear it again at the show, and it just every rare chance I get to hear it, it's just, man, I need these speakers. They're insane. Like the scale of the sound stage is just, you can't get it any other way. It's just insane.
Yeah. Have you had anybody take any of your electrostats and like put them behind a screen? You think that would have really affected a
It's
lot?
definitely been done. It's not as common because you have to have a big space back there.
Yeah.
But if you were designing the room to accommodate like pro theater speakers anyway, then it might could work. But for the best performance on a dipole speaker like that, you want to give them a little more room.
Yeah.
So I think when people are designing a purpose built room like that, they don't necessarily want to hide them. They it's kind of a focal point, if you will. Though we definitely have had people do it. There's nothing that would prevent you from doing that, like because of it's electrostat, and it's been done.
Yeah, I was curious if it would like diminish the the detail on the top end because of the screen or not.
I mean, acoustically transparent screens are always going to have some impact on the sound, but it is not as extreme as you would think. A lot of manufacturers will publish like, here's the sound we measured without the screen, and then here's the drop you get when you add the screen.
Yeah.
So it definitely does impact the sound, but it's something that can usually be EQ'd around to restore it back to normal again. But yeah, it is a dipole speaker with control dispersion. Putting anything in front of it or building it into like an alcove or something, it's going to impact the sound just like it would with any speaker. But depends on the goal of the system.
Well, I think that's it, man. Unless you got anything else you wanted to share.
Not today. Maybe here soon in September. But no, yeah, it's you're not going to CDR, are you?
No, I'm not going to see it.
No. Okay. Well, stay tuned.
Sure, I'll find out anyways.
Yeah. But yeah, maybe I can come back after the show and we can talk about what we showed off and the demo experience, and we're always like I always say, this sounds like a rehearsed shtick, but we're always working on something. So we're not able to drop new products all the time, but we're always constantly working to bring new stuff out. So you saw the results of that last year with a ton of different motion speakers coming out, and then you're seeing that again this year with subwoofers. So stay tuned.
Excited, man. I'm amped to listen to these subs, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm thinking once we have them, I might need an upgrade here.
Well, thanks guys for hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Andrew, for sharing the new updates on these subs and possible future subs.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks guys. If you want to pick up any of these subwoofers, go to MartinLogan.com. They're available now and in satin white.
Some of them are.
Some of them are.
The Dynamo Foundation 10 is shipping. The rest are coming later. So
later.
The ones you like are October. So it'll be worth the wait though.
Oh yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Any questions, drop them down in the comment section, and I'll ask Andrew to answer them for you.